Thousands of years ago, humanity turned away from the truth and filled the earth with false gods. Prophets were sent to guide them, but only a few believed. Then came the great flood, and the world was wiped clean. After them rose the mighty nation of Ad, powerful, advanced and proud. But like those before, they too worshipped idols, and they were swept away by a furious wind. In their place came another great civilization, perhaps the second mightiest to ever walk the earth, the people of Thamud. They inherited the land as successors after Ad, but the same path of arrogance awaited them. This is the story of man, and you're watching its 8th episode. Just like Ad, Thamud was a tribe named after their forefather. The people of this nation were tall, strong, and long-lived, much like the people of Ad before them. In fact, several narrations suggest that the people of Thamud were the remnants of Ad, and in my view, this is not just a possibility, it makes perfect sense. The people of Ad themselves were descended from those who survived the Great Flood in the time of Prophet Nuh. They inherited the physical traits of their ancestors, but Allah, the Almighty, enhanced those traits, making them even taller, stronger, and more dominant. When the nation of Ad was destroyed, not all perished. Some among them, the believers, survived the punishment. It is highly likely that the Thamud tribes emerged from their descendants. Historical accounts and traditional sources indicate that the survivors of Ad migrated northward, leaving Yemen and traveling nearly 900 miles until they settled in the region of Al-Hijr, near what is now known as Prophet Salih. Over time, these people became known as Thamud. However, there are other views as well regarding the origins of the people of Thamud. Some historians suggest that while the people of Ad lived in Yemen, Thamud emerged independently in the region of Al-Hijr in the north. In his book, Dr. Ali Muhammad al-Salabi shares an interesting account. He writes that Thamud had a powerful king named Junda ibn Amr, known for his cruelty and harsh rule. A group from the surviving remnants of Ad approached him and warned him of what had happened to their people, how the punishment of Allah descended upon them after they rejected the call of prophethood, peace be upon him, and how their arrogance led to their destruction. They hoped Junda would reflect and change his ways, but instead of learning from history, he mocked it. He proudly declared, "The people of Ad were destroyed because they didn't know how to build properly. We, on the other hand, carve our homes into the mountains. No storm, no matter how strong, can touch us." His words reflect the very arrogance that destroyed Ad, the same pride in strength structures and false security. Whatever their exact origin, one thing is clear. After the fall of Ad, Thamud rose as the dominant power on earth, inheriting both the land and the authority. As Allah, the Almighty, says in the Quran, "And remember when He made you successors after Ad, and settled you in the land. You build palaces on its plains, and carve homes into the mountains. So remember Allah's favors upon you, and do not spread corruption in the land." The people of Thamud lived in the western and northwestern regions of the Arabian Peninsula, in an area once known as Wadi al-Qura, the Valley of Villages, due to the many settlements scattered throughout its length. Their capital was Al-Hijr, a significant city located along the ancient trade route that connected the Hijaz region to the Levant. The Quran directly references the homeland of Thamud in multiple verses. Allah, the Almighty, says, "And with Thamud, who carved out the rocks in the valley." Classical scholars explain the phrase "carved out" as referring to cutting into the ground in low-lying areas, emphasizing how the Thamud literally shaped the valley's rock formations into homes and structures. Another powerful reference appears in Surah Al-Hijr, "And certainly did the companions of Al-Hijr deny the messengers, and we gave them our signs, but they turned away from them, and they used to carve from the mountains houses, feeling secure." Here the people of Thamud are described as the companions of Al-Hijr, clearly confirming that Al-Hijr was their homeland and center of power. The Prophet Muhammad also visited the land of Thamud during his expedition to Tabuk. According to a well-known narration reported by Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and recorded in both Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, the Prophet and his companions passed through Al-Hijr, the very place where the people of Thamud once lived. When they camped near the ruins, the companions used water from the same wells that Thamud had once drawn from. They used it to knead their dough and began cooking in pots. But the Prophet immediately instructed them to pour out the food and feed the dough to the animals. He then ordered them to leave the area quickly. He warned them not to casually enter the ruins of those who were punished, saying, "Do not enter the dwellings of those who wronged themselves unless you are weeping, lest you be afflicted with what afflicted them." The people of Thamud, like the nation of Ad before them, fell into the darkness of idol worship. They associated others with Allah in their worship and placed their trust in lifeless stones. Historical accounts mention that they had around 40 idols, including names like Wad, Jad, Hud, Shams, Manat, and Allah. Does that name sound familiar? Wad was also among the idols worshipped by the people of Prophet Nuh. In fact, they had created 360 idols, the very same number that were later placed inside the Kaaba before the advent of Islam. These idols didn't just vanish from history, they were passed down, rebranded, and revived by different civilizations, leading generation after generation into the same trap of shirk, associating partners with Allah. It's sad to witness how repeatedly humanity has been deceived by the same trick of the devil. It frustrates me deeply. How can they not see that these stones have no power? They can neither help nor harm, and yet people bow to them, sacrifice to them, and place their hopes in them. One thing stands out across all idol-worshipping civilizations in history: arrogance. Whether it was the people of Nu'ad or Thamud, their rejection of truth was not out of ignorance alone, but out of pride and defiance. The Quran captures this about Thamud in clear terms. Thamud denied their prophet by reason of their transgression. This short but powerful verse speaks volumes. Their wrongdoing wasn't limited to disbelief. It infected every part of their society, their faith, their actions, their social systems, their economy, and their politics. They were a nation corrupt at every level. Now, I've already created a detailed video on the people of Thamud about 5 months ago. It covers their complete history, archaeological evidence, and even what modern science has uncovered. And it's a video worth watching if you haven't seen it yet. Since that video already exists, I didn't recreate it for this series, but what you've heard just now wasn't included in that original episode. This is new. The link to the original Thamud video is in the description and pinned comment. Watch it and let me know in the comments what stood out most to you.